to White Wolf Motorsports. Today we're going to be talking about the Holden Sandman twin turbocharged V6 supercar concept from 2014 to 2017. Now this car was basically a panel van style or like a station wagon, and this was also proof of concept from General Motors and one of the divisions, which was Holden at the time. And this engine was going to be used for the next generation of V8 supercars. And unfortunately, that never came to be because they basically scrapped the plans to use the twin turbocharged V6 engines, and they pretty much just introduced a new generation Holden Commodore, and basically they used the Holden Commodore until 2022, and then in 2023 it was replaced by the Chevrolet Camaro because Holden was discontinued as a brand in 2021. So pretty much that happened. So let's talk more about this concept car. So the beginning of the story is that this Holden Commodore, this very, very special Holden Commodore, was developed by Red Bull Racing Australia, later known as Red Bull Repsol Racing. And this was originally developed in 2014, and it used a 2013 V8 supercar chassis, which the car, of course, the question is, it used chassis from the Holden Commodore SS. However, they converted it into a panel van or station wagon style body, and the beast that powered this car was a GM Alloytech V6 engine, which was 3.6 liters, and this engine was known for being a power pusher because these engines can range from 201 horsepower to 464 horsepower, depending on the configuration, whether it's a single turbocharged version of the engine or a twin turbocharged version of the engine. This engine was produced by GM in a joint partnership venture between Cadillac and Holden, and this engine was also featured on the Cadillac CTS from 2004 and also the Holden Commodore as well at around the same time. And these engines were basically, they had a power equivalent of V8 but with 2 cylinders less, and they range from 6,500 RPM all the way up to 7,200 RPM. And it was also on this car, but it was modified with more power, obviously, and with racing headers and all the other upgrades, which it's not really known how many upgrades were there onto this engine, because it doesn't explicitly say the details of it. However, I did manage to find some data on how much this Alloytech engine produced for the Holden Commodore Sandman concept car. So with all the modifications, this engine produced around 650 horsepower, and for a twin turbocharged V6, I have to say that is a beast for that amount of power. And this was quick, obviously. It was paired with a 6-speed sequential transmission, and like what I said, this car was a proof of concept along with the power of this engine. And this was supposed to be for the following season, for 2018, for the 2018 rule set, which they were going to originally replace the V8s with the twin turbocharged V6 engines, but however that never happened because the project was scrapped. So they abandoned those rules of switching over to the twin turbocharged V6, and instead they kept the V8 engines. Also, the car's chassis number. The car's chassis number was number 888-032, which was previously used in the 2013 Supercar season, and this was a retired V8 Supercar 2013 season chassis. And this was on the Red Bull team, Red Bull Australia team, back then in 2013. So this was the chassis they used, and then they reused it to build this car. And this car's history is very interesting, since it was used to make this proof of concept V8 Supercar race car. However, in 2018, this project was scrapped, and hence they still kept the V8s. And it was scrapped while it was early in development, since 2017. And like what I said, these prototypes were just a proof of concept, and to show what the future of what V8 supercars would be like if they were to go to twin turbocharged V6 engines in the future. Well, around 2018 season. But that never ended up happening. The car has been painted many times. The first color scheme was a typical Red Bull blue, yellow, and red, and then they went to the silver and gray, and then they went to the black and silver later on for 2017. And it's just interesting of what could have been if they had gone to twin turbocharged V6 engines. Not only would it be slightly better fuel economy for racing, obviously, maybe less pit times and less fuel consumption, but it shows of what could have been if things had gotten through development. But unfortunately, things are just not meant to be. And the demise of Holden was around 2021 when GM shut down the brand. However, they still kept on racing Commodores until the end of the 2022 V8 Supercar season. And then in 2023, once they rebranded to Supercars, they replaced the Holden Commodore with a Chevy Camaro for the Gen 3 body Supercar chassis. And it's a real shame of what could have been for the development of this engine. And it's true that sometimes things are just not meant to be, either because money or declining sales or change of plans. And in this case, General Motors decided not to pursue further onto the project and instead kept the current existing engines. Since the world of supercars has been changing, whether it's a new manufacturer entering into the motorsport or new rule changes, especially drivers now want the H pattern to return to V8 supercars, to basically to go back to that, as opposed to having the sequential transmission. And who knows, maybe someday the V6 turbos could emerge again at some point, but we don't know. Alright, and that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and make sure to give a like and subscribe. And this is White Wolf Motorsports signing out. Have a good one.